Welcome to the Leadership Art Podcast. I'm your host, Art Robbins, and it's great to have you join us. The Leadership Art Podcast features insightful conversations with industry leaders who lead with purpose, and our purpose is to inspire you to be the best leader you can be. And today's guest is Julia Nimchinski. Julia is the CEO and founder of the Hard Skill Exchange, an AI native marketplace. A CMO by 30, she advanced through the Salesforce ecosystem and launched a product hunt for GTM methodologies as an entrepreneur, inspiring the creation of HSE. Today, she leads B2B's foremost executive network where leading go-to-market CXOs, VCs, and analysts operationalize AI, experiment at the edge of the unknown, and exchange the frameworks and architectures shaping the next era of the agentic enterprise. And she holds a master's degree in linguistics. Julia, welcome to Leadership Art.
So excited to be here, Art.
I'm excited to have you because these days, everyone's interested in AI. And it's no secret that the large majority of companies are struggling with it. And many people are even scared of AI. But I'm confident with your background and expertise in the field, we're going to sort that all out. I hope to clarify some of the confusion and misperceptions and also surface some of the big opportunities. How does that sound for an objective today?
Sounds amazing. And I just express my mutual admiration towards your work and your latest essays that you released recently, speaking to the leadership problem, the actual AI within GTM and other functions. And yeah, let's just get into it and address some of the main concerns. I'm really happy to share the experience that we have at HSC. To your audience, we are an executive network. Currently, the network comprises 20,000 executives, mainly VCs, analysts, CXOs. So it's VPs of marketing, CMOs, VPs of sales, CROs, CCOs, et cetera, et cetera. We really cover GTM functions, mid-market enterprise predominantly. And we do a lot of AI events, AI summits, AI practice sessions, through which we essentially deconstruct some of the main concerns and innovations when it comes to operationalizing AI in GTM. One of the aspects that immediately comes just to my thinking is the concept of AI native GTM.
Explain what that is. And by the way, maybe just to preface the whole conversation, it's if you look at AI from the outside, someone who's not involved in the technology or the industry day to day, it's like this whole new vocabulary has emerged. And I think one of the reasons people are confused and they don't understand it is they just hear what appears to be a lot of buzzwords and they don't really know what that means. If you could help clarify what some of these key buzzwords mean, that would be fantastic. Like the term agentic AI. I think there are companies, there are even C-level people in companies that say they're using agentic AI for the sole reason that they think it'll increase the valuation of the company, and they have no idea what they're doing or if they're even doing it. So, yeah, if you could provide some layman's explanations of the key new vocabulary words, that would be fantastic.
Happy to. Yeah, AI native GTM, the easiest way to think about it is essentially GTM from first principles. As I'm sure you witnessed some major AI disruptions, technology, innovation disruptions. We share our admiration to Clay Christensen's work. So the
Here, amen.
Yes. A lot of the changes are becoming recursive, meaning that a similar interaction like you have with ChatGPT or other LLMs, your input feeds back to, your output feeds back to your input, and then it just becomes this infinite loop of improvement that you can implement within your go-to-market, within your operating system, within your just organizational design, how you build product, how you just think about sales. And that's the essentially first place to start.
So
Yeah.
does that mean I'm still a relative novice when it comes to AI?
Yeah.
When you say it's recursive, does that mean that the more I use it and the more I'm giving the AI engine information about me and the more it gives me answers and it sees my reactions to those answers, it gets smarter and smarter and
Yes.
it can do a better job of answering my questions and giving me value over time?
Exactly. So for years, we stored information in CRM. So we're just addressing pure sales use case. And then sellers, I'm sure you've seen it, every Salesforce state of sales release, 1/3 of sellers' time is spent on administrative tasks. That's
Sure.
been a statistic for
Please.
sure, 10 years or so.
Mhm.
Nothing changed. And we've seen the word AI and ML for also a decade. What changed now is that there's a lot of signal noise, you can call it whatever you'd like, but essentially there is a trend that everything is moving into a system of action.
Mhm.
So this transition from system of record to system of action, where essentially our webinar, like just we essentially had an AI assistant before we went live. So everything gets recorded, everything gets back to that system. And the easiest way to think about a system of action is even that auto recorder or any recorder, which essentially can become your coaching agent for your sales team and also an actual agent, your SDR, writing emails and follow-up emails based on the recording from a sales call or whatever it is. It can update your information. It can do a whole bunch of things. So it all comes down to the point where we started the AI native GTM, to the point of your creativity, imagination, and obviously just testing it based on reality and the art of the possible today, and doing so continuously, but having AI at the center as opposed to just a nice to have feature. And so we just released this report, Art, in collaboration with Momentum.
We need to get access to it. We'll be sure our audience knows how to do that.
We're really proud of it. We essentially collected something like 100 top trends and opinions, sound bites from leading CXOs in the industry. So folks like Mark Roberge was the original CRO at HubSpot, the Okta founder, and like the biggest name, some of the leading analysts, VCs, and operators. And the interesting stat that was surprising to me is that 60% of those leaders believe that we have to rethink GTM and everything we do from first principle and just
Mhm.
essentially rebuild everything around the AI. But still, we have 40% who still think that we can simply add AI to existing anything.
Yeah, it's encouraging to hear that the majority think that you have to revamp the workflow. You have to reinvent or redesign the workflow. Because, again, if you look at history, I think where technology has failed in the past was when the leaders take shortcuts and they just say,
Yes.
we're just going to insert this technology on top of everything that we're doing. They're looking for the easy fix, and that doesn't work. It actually further complicates what they're doing, which might have some and probably does have flaws to begin with, and it doesn't take full advantage of the potential of the technology. So I think even more so with AI, it demands that you use it as an opportunity to ask, where can AI add strategic value that I've never been able to deliver to my customers in the past? This is like a new level of value creation that's available to me. And I have to do the hard work to figure out what that is because it's unique to my company. It's not like I can look next door and say, oh, I'm going to copycat that.
100% resonate with what you just shared. And I'd love to even look at one layer deeper. What's really interesting is that mindset, that 40% that still believe that you just add AI to existing anything. It actually does make sense if you think about it from the perspective of staged integration. And there is work that Mark Roberge did in this realm. His framework really resonates with me. He essentially distinguishes 4 phases of integrating AI in GTM.
Okay.
And the first, it's I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially comes down to human seller and AI support. Phase 2, AI seller, human buyer. Phase 3, AI seller, AI buyer. And then 4, it's complete agentic organization, the promise of Mark Benioff and Agent Force. And we also have the work of James Currier from NFX, who distinguishes it's a similar framework, but he looks at it from the perspective of obviously network effects and just the types of startups that are going to be successful leveraging generative AI. And there are 3 waves. The first one is just wrappers around just AI models. Second one is generative AI inside. And then the third one is visionary and non-obvious. But if you think about it, Art, as a leader, you can think about all of these stages and you can approach your transformation as a stage 1. Mm-hmm. And currently, at this moment in time, arguably, and no one has the 100% correct answer, it does make sense to just integrate AI, especially on the go-to-market side. It might be a little bit too disruptive to run autonomous agents exactly now, especially for a corporation.
And that's the stage 4 model.
Yes.
Yes. I think that stage is what really scares people. When you talk about, let's just take an entire workflow or process or a person's job and have AI do that. And was that even wise to do? In any situation, maybe there are some select situations, but have people really gone through the analysis to assess, well, what's the consequences of AI doing everything if there's no human in the loop, if there's no guardrails, if there's no risk management aspect? I'm wondering what your take is on all that.
The reason I think I'm really aligned with your thinking here, the reason why this day and age is probably the best time ever is that there's no single answer, a single methodology, a single framework, method, call it whatever, for everyone to apply today, now, and within any context. And we are all navigating it all together. And it's really interesting to listen to some major thinkers, major doers, and executives in a variety of sectors and verticals, how they do it and implement AI within their specific context. And the most beautiful thing that can happen, Art, is that as a leader, you really have to distill, from a lot of perspectives, your own one. And no one can do it but you.
True. Is this one of the objectives of your exchange? Your exchange is all about knowledge sharing, exchanging information. Is that a forum where leaders can share their experiences and say, this is how I've applied AI to this problem or this opportunity, and that can give real life use cases and examples to other leaders that might not be as far along in the journey? So they would have some better insights on how to implement AI properly in their organization?
Yes, our perspective and approach here is almost Switzerland-like.
Okay, neutral party.
Very.
Not that there's holes in it. It's not Swiss cheese, it's Switzerland.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
We don't have a narrative. We don't sell anything. We just really strive to highlight various approaches, various operating models, the ones that succeed, the lessons from the failures. We are really transparent about everything and anything. So we have 2 event series. One is AI Summits, where it's more visionary, where leaders like yourself just get interviewed. We do host executive roundtables by roles. So CEO roundtables, CRO, CMO, etc. And we just discuss topics like one of the trends in our report, for example, was that AI becomes a managed function this year. And then it just introduces hundreds, if not millions, of questions from how do you manage it? Are we talking about AI as an assistant? Are we talking about AI as a super agent or agent swarm? Or what form of agents? Because there are so many now. And how do you govern it? There are some use cases and early work from companies like ServiceNow, from Moderna, where the CIO or CHRO manage agents as people. And so we negotiate and discuss like various aspects of what would that model look like. And then there's AI practice sessions where we just showcase the art of the possible today. Frameworks, methods, working, it's all for executives by executives. And then there's an ability to operationalize it, just operationalizing it within your context through our marketplace.
Now, that would be extremely valuable. I just posted one of our articles on AI leadership, and the theme of it was the leaders have to get involved. They can't just delegate it off. This is going to be a defining tool that can determine the success and failure of your company going forward. And to the extent that they can get access to these best practices on how to govern, how to select what projects to do, how to design a project, how to measure success, how to get educated in it. Those are some of the things that I noted that leaders have to be prepared to step up to do. And if you're giving them access to answer those questions, that would be extremely valuable. What sort of reception are you getting to the exchange so far?
Yeah, it's the reception is amazing. We've been incredibly honored to feature something close to 5,000 executives to this point as speakers as part of our summits and events. And a lot of them are part of our coaches and experts and mentors on the marketplace side of things. So yeah, it's been great. One aspect that I think is really also important to double down on, accept the fact that no one has the answer. And even if you work with an executives, it's still an opinion and an exchange essentially based on practical experience in a certain industry, in a certain context. And it's really important to just come with that open mind, because I feel that a lot of executives, there is a prevailing feeling, I certainly have it, that you're missing out quite constantly. You're opening your LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever it is.
Right.
And it's just, the speed of everything is just, it's crazy. And,
Yeah,
we,
it's
we
the
post
what do
once.
they call it? FOMO, fear of missing out. And
Yeah.
that's not just a social media thing. That's in the C-suite. People are really concerned about that.
Yeah, but no one has a better answer. There's a marketing side of a
Mhm.
lot of those aspects, and then there is a reality side. There is a vendor side selling something, and there is an operational reality too, obviously. And so our purpose is to double down on the operational reality, and essentially the truth is, as we discussed in the beginning of this podcast as well, it's if we share our mission. And when we just featured James Carrier from NFX, and his prediction is for the next 12 to 15 years, no leader will be replaced by AI, or your job won't die, essentially. And
But
it's not happening now, also.
that's actually an aspect I would like to drill into a little bit more is how, when you talk about an agent, for example, and by the way, I'd like to get your specific definition on what an agent is, but just finishing my thought. When you talk about an agent, where do you create the guardrails, or how do you think about creating the guardrails? Because even though one day where stage four might be a possibility, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it, right? You should still have a human in the loop. You should find the right mix of humanity and automation. to optimize a process. And I think, again, people are really scared of where this could go, that this could replace entire jobs. I was meeting with an AI expert the other day who said, yeah, I've been working with AI agents for over a dozen years. They weren't even called AI agents a dozen years ago, but that's what they
Yeah.
were. And I predict that this is a quote from him, not mine, but he said, by the year 2050, I predict that AI will be able to do anything a human can do better than a human. And he even went so far to say, I said, anything? And he said, yes. And I think that AI will also be capable of making love. And I said, what? That was just so over the top for me. But he was convinced that if a human could do it, if a human can make love or at least express making love, that the AI will be able to do that just as well, if not better. How do you address that? And there are people out there probably coding the systems or instructing the systems to get them to be able to do that, in fact.
Yeah, I think that I'm extremely rational and I ground my
Me too.
perspective yeah,
Me too.
based on reality. I do not believe in the sentience of AI or AGI. It's beautiful marketing. I let it be, and the narrative can circulate. It's going to be really interesting to see what how the definition of AGI will change tomorrow, because it looks like it changes pretty much every day. And one day we reach it, and the next there's more to the sentience. To
But
your
I'm a leader, okay? And let's say
yeah.
I'm presented with these
Mm.
issues. There's some things it's clear that AI should do, and there's some things that it's clear AI should not do. How do I manage that? Because, like, I'll give you an example. I did a project a couple of years ago with a big company that had a humongous call center, and they wanted to pilot. Back then, it really was a pilot for them about 2 years ago. And the CEO there was very interested and very committed to the pilot. But he said to his team, his management team executing it, whatever you design, I do not want our customers who are calling into the call center, I do not want them to ever interact directly with an AI agent. I only want them interacting with human beings. If you're going to do AI, do it so our call center employees interact with the AI, and the call center employees will then take that and communicate directly with our customers. Now, you could argue whether that's right or wrong, or undervaluing the AI or realistically valuing it. But the fact of the matter is, he set that as a principle. That was the culture of his company that he wanted to convey to the market. And they did implement the pilot, and it was very successful. And they measured customer sat coming out of it. And customer sat actually went up like 25, 30%. And the contact center employees loved it because this AI dashboard they created gave them all the tools for it. They never had to put a customer on hold and say, let me put you in hold 10 minutes while I read all your history and figure out what's going on. It was all right there for them. A bit of a long story, but I bring it up like this was a guy that had a clear sense what he wanted his culture and his mission to be. And that helped him clearly define guardrails and give thoughtful guidance to the rest of the team to develop a new strategic solution.
100%, yes. And it goes back to the definition of leadership by one and only Steve Jobs. And yeah, it starts with having a clear vision and being able to communicate that vision to your team, your customers, everyone involved, and inspire them, obviously. But the problem is that not every leader has that vision, Art.
I
And
know.
there is no
Sure,
vision that is
sure.
universally true or going to be applicable in every industry segment, et cetera, et cetera. I'll give you a very simple example. In the startup land tech sector, it's really common to do a podcast like this, and then you just feed it to an agent and it cuts your videos and it just adds the subtitles, everything, the post for
Right.
your LinkedIn, post it and autopilot. It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible to feed the right context. It's possible to do a lot of things in that realm. We do have a video production team and we do have a content team. And me, myself, I'm heavily involved in the quality control and the style of the communication of the
Sure.
company,
Sure.
essentially, because that element I haven't seen just being productively implemented and automated by AI that meets my standards as of now. Will it be available someday? Maybe. With more data? Maybe. As of now, you can pretty much easily and in a matter of a couple of minutes just tell if the content was written by AI or it wasn't. And even something simple as quotations, outtakes, the quality of the outtakes, and a lot of micro elements of interacting with your brand. And I believe that in some, all of those touch points create a certain experience and that perception that we have about the iPhone or Apple as a brand. And as I won't go into it, but it's common knowledge. Steve Jobs is just my North Star when it comes to approaching branding and building a
Sure.
brand. Yeah. Is it
Yeah.
possible to automate it with an agent? Yes, 100%. Do you want to do it as a leader? Up to you.
Yeah, and probably not in cases where the customer is directly involved. You need to have some layer of humanity. I've experienced the same thing that you have with video production. And people are getting smart. They've interacted enough with AI that they can either tell definitively or sense that this was generated by AI. I was talking to a recruiter that said this whole recruiting process these days is going downhill. We posted a job and it was very popular. We got all these cover letters, and 20% of the cover letters were identical, verbatim. Everyone probably asked, they pumped in the standard job description, they asked the same prompt, they all got out the same cover letter. And there's a high AI detection quotient being developed. And I think that's a surefire way to turn customers off. They want to know that you care enough as a service provider or as a business partner that you will invest your own time and you will invest your humanity, your experience, your wisdom to create something that's truly unique and meaningful for the customer.
100%. But yet again, it comes back to the question that you asked me, how do you define an agent? And
Mhm.
that
Okay.
definition really depends on the specific use case, right? Because to your point, customer success, in our case, we receive quite a bunch of similar emails
Mhm.
concerning like a certain like questions from registration, beginning with registration and confusion and logging in and various questions of that nature that could be automated with AI, and they're done so effectively and amazingly that there is really no need for a human touch. We
Right.
just review it all, and just that where the recursiveness comes in. When it comes to, so it's what's important, Art, is that you constantly have to reassess your own beliefs and assumptions because the pace of change and innovation is really amazing. And what's true today, even in a quarter from now, it could be questionable. Coming back to leadership and how do you lead and use AI? First of all, it exposes and amplifies whatever your work is, your standards are, and your thinking. It will always and always come back to you, your vision, your questioning of your personal effectiveness, your company's effectiveness, your imagination. And it's beautiful that this technology finally does it. So we have companies like Block, for example. They invented something like the world model. It was
Okay.
just introduced. And it's a fascinating organizational reconstruction where it's not hierarchical management that comes back from the railroads. And it's really an ancient structure if you think of it. of running your
Yeah.
organization. Yeah,
I
so
love that because I believe there are things you can learn from history that we're not applying very well these days.
yeah, so now they are completely reinventing the roles and they
Mhm.
segmenting it into three layers,
Okay.
from individual contributors to something like coaches, and essentially everyone can interact with the CEO directly, and they're getting rid of the managerial lever to the point of the redefinition of your role as a leader. It's gonna be redefined, but it's not, you're not going away. It's just what I
Got it.
mean, there was no concept of running social media or doing UX UI design for mobile. It's a very similar dynamic that we're just seeing now. And yeah, comes back to
Well,
imagination.
my take is that if a leader approaches it like this is a new powerful tool, how can I truly use it as a tool? Not as a work
Yes.
substitute, but as a tool to make my company better, to make me better as a leader, to make my employees better, to really empower all of us so we can develop to a higher level and add more value to a higher level that we've never been able to attain before.
Yes, 100%. And this is why coaching and various insight sessions, expert sessions, and the more the better are incredibly valuable today, because it's sitting with you or hundreds of other leaders. You want to do that. You want to get as many perspectives as you can as a leader in order to just sharpen yours.
Yeah. What would you say is the best example you've seen of AI being used effectively? If you had to pick one use case to share with everyone.
Yeah, the use cases that I'm leaning toward are always going to be the most disruptive.
Mhm.
And the beautiful and the sad thing about it is that it's not quite grounded on reality today. Because to your point, like block and then introducing this new model, if you go to the bottom of the whole article and the introduction of it, you find out that they themselves didn't actually integrate it fully. So there are only the inception of it, and they also define like almost four stages of just transforming their own organization, but they already introduced it. So
Mhm.
that's, I am incredibly inspired by that model. I definitely think that's the future. Also, lots of thoughts about UX and UI, how the interface matters less and less, and how it's transforming in way of platforms, marketplaces, since we're building one and releasing our new AI native marketplace pretty soon. So lots of really effective uses there compared to how buying and booking and matching algorithms happen today. Just seeing how we work with it and what's possible based on just the having that rich context and data. What's possible today with AI, it's really incredible.
Yeah. Where do you think we'll be in 5 years? If you had to fast forward and we ran to each other and I'd say, Julia, how would you describe the AI world now in 2031?
It's a hard one. I definitely think that organizations will be more lean in terms of the definition of managerial levers. I think that
Less layers, less middle
yes,
management.
less layer, less middle management, more defined, more delegation, obviously, when it comes to all sorts of micro tasks. And as a leader, the most valuable skill is always going to be leadership. And by which I mean vision. Vision within the context of marketing, vision within the context of sales, your function, broader functions. And I doubt that there will be a division between B2B and B2C. That's a controversial one, Art. I think that we are already seeing the merge of these two
Yeah, the
industries.
lines are starting to blur more and more.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's been happening long ago with the introduction of RevOps as a function, but especially now when Google introduced buying agents. It's really hard for me to imagine the enterprise. We just posted this, the CRO, some info introduced, and CRO Gong and many other leading CROs, we had this roundtable focused on the transition from chief revenue officer to chief revenue architect. It's already being practiced in the industry today. And we are transitioning from this Huba CRO into a true architect, into leveraging technology, into the reality where it's not about, the dinners, the steak, all that reality that was so prevalent throughout the years, but it's more, it really comes down to the essence of things.
Yeah,
What
more
jobs
more
needs
of
to
a
get done.
substantive role. It's not
Exactly.
about
And
not
that's,
about entertaining the clients and taking them to
yes,
country clubs.
less,
Yes,
exactly.
yeah.
And that excites me.
Mhm. No, I think that's true, especially you look at the workplace. You used to have country clubs because everything was regional, right? I mean,
Yeah.
your clients were your neighbors, but now it's a global marketplace. You
Yeah.
have to
You
adapt to that. Yes.
definitely, to your point, you can't have that humanity and that aspect of it. The personalized experience is always beautiful and always much cherished. But when it's just so clearly became a sales method, that is questionable, in my opinion. And do we want to have that?
When I
No.
say personalized, yeah, I'm not necessarily referring to whining and dining, but I'm
Yeah.
saying that you could have a solution or a proposal and you can personalize that. You can make the client feel that they're special, that you really took the time and effort to understand their unique needs and you reflected it in the proposal, in the questions you ask, in the conversation. You didn't just produce a template and fill in the blanks or give a 20-word prompt to chat GBT and it generated 40 hours of work for you in 30 seconds. The client can sense, and not even just sense,
100%.
but recognize that you really care about them and you want to earn their business. Because I always say, so you talk about GTM, a lot of companies, they're not going to treat the client better than they did during the GTM cycle. A lot of companies treat them worse after they got this. I hate to admit that. And clients know this, right? And
For sure.
they view the GTM cycle as a window to what the overall experience would be. Where, again, I guess I come back to, as you have the leadership and establishing the vision and establishing the guardrails and saying, this is how I want to be known to the marketplace. And this is how I'm going to leverage the AI tool and power to help me fulfill that mission better than I've ever been able to before. Well, whatever the answer is for that company.
Couldn't be more aligned than possible to what you just said. And there's no personalization at scale. There's a lot of marketing around this concept. Never seen
Yeah.
this in reality. Yeah, to your point, customers feel it, everyone feels it. And I never seen that to be producing any results or meaningful or measurable outcomes of any kind. And yeah, you can deploy autonomous agents filling the blanks with rich context from every third party data you can imagine. But again, I'm happy to be disrupted and to learn from those that can actually demonstrate how it worked for the premium brand at an enterprise scale. All ears, but I
Well,
haven't seen that yet.
you're in a great position because you're going to see so many examples of what worked and what doesn't work.
Yeah,
I trust that you could steer people in the right direction just based on the universe of experiences that you're getting exposed to. You are in an exciting spot. I think that's the bottom line. And we're definitely going to value hearing more about what comes out of your effort and what you publish and share with the outside world. So,
definitely.
so let me ask you, I know we're running out of time here. We've covered so much ground. What would be the one key takeaway you would want the audience to walk away with that maybe they could start to do differently tomorrow to get a handle on AI and enhance their own leadership impact in the AI world?
Focusing on the substance. on the substance of your work, on the substance of your leadership, on the reason you are at your position today, and whether you want to be in that position, and is it actually true to your nature? Because there's a lot of, and I don't want to get into too philosophical concept here, but there is a lot of influences from all sorts of directions where you essentially, and that actually speaks to some aspects that we discussed before this show on our calls about entrepreneurship. And as simple as that, how do you realize that you're an entrepreneur? You don't think about it. You know you are. You just do it. You just feel it. You don't see the difficulties. You just execute. And I think that a similar dynamic is really applicable to leaders of every direction, function, and position. If you are at your place and you feel that's what you want to do, then you really need to double down on AI and test it, play with it, attend as many industry events as possible. HSC events, by the way, I just have to do it. Art, forgive me.
That's okay.
Free.
Do it. Yeah.
And people always, they can't believe that we don't charge for tickets, because it's really, I invite you, I invite your audience. We feature the CMO of Zoom, the CCO of Box, the CRO of Zoom Info. It's really like the leading AI native and brands and incumbents. The quality bar is really high, and the
that's great.
filter is also, yeah.
It's going to stay that way. You're planning to keep it free?
Yes,
for your audience?
Yes, we did 7 AI summits. We did the first AI summit in the industry virtually 2 years ago, a bit more.
Okay.
And yeah, it's always 100 plus leading speakers. It's really one of the best events you can find online. And
do you have sponsorship to cover that?
Yeah.
And that's
our business model. Yeah, very transparently.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're not charging you for attendance, but yeah, it's by the way, you can just access, we just did one, agentic operating system, where we actually hosted all of those discussion. How do you manage AI as a function? How do you go from a CRO to CRA, and the AI native GTM methodology? Lots of really relevant discussions about guardrails with the original founder and CTO of ServiceNow. So some of the leading names and brands in the industry, it's all available online. It's all free. And I'd love to share that with your audience.
Great. We'll make sure we share with the audience. And if the audience wants to stay in touch with you and keep up with you, what's the best way to do that?
LinkedIn, always.
Okay. Yeah, you're very active on LinkedIn. Yeah, I can vouch firsthand. You post very compelling content. So I appreciate
I'm a
that.
huge fan, of the platform. No matter what, I think that's one of the most reasonable platforms left of the internet. So excited to be active there.
Look, I think this was a great conversation. We covered a lot of ground. I think we cleared up some things. I think we also gave some new things for people to think about. Maybe we quelled some fears, and maybe we generated some new ones, but it's all part of the journey. And
definitely.
There's a great opportunity here for everyone, and look forward to everyone stepping up and sharing their experiences with us. So thanks for doing everything you're doing, Julia. I really appreciate having you as a guest here.
Really appreciate being here, a guest, and your whole approach. As I mentioned many times, the admiration couldn't be more just genuine. The way you handle this podcast, Art, as it's really one of the best experiences I had in my career, definitely. And I do a lot of these and host myself, like a lot of virtual events, but the whole approach to doing this is really meaningful. And you can feel the level of professionalism, and you're just, you don't delegate to agents. That's what you can tell for sure. There's a lot of personalization.
That's something you don't want to delegate to AI, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. We're just trying to make our little dent in the universe here. And thank you for those kind words. Let's call it an episode. And as always, I want to thank our audience and our listeners and our followers. Let me know what you think of today's episode. Please react, comment, share your own experiences. And thanks again for your ongoing support. Until the next episode of the Leadership Art Podcast, this is your host, Art Robbins. And remember, it's your lead.